For those who were unfamiliar, this is Flashpoint. This guy is Gene Bailey. He's the host of Flashpoint. Now, this is a show on the Victory Network, owned and operated by our one and only Kenneth Copeland. It is a far-right, ultra-religious nutcase TV show. Seriously, I don't know how else to describe it if you haven't seen it before. This episode is all about how persecuted these poor Christians are and how they don't like being called a threat to the nation, quote unquote. If you're watching this 5 years in the future, Biden gave a speech a couple weeks ago about how the MAGA movement is basically an extremist movement that is anti-democracy and stuff. They did not like that. So this is their reaction to it. I figured we'd give it a watch, see what they have to say for themselves. Let's just get into it while we play some Breath of the Wild.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Gene Bailey, and this is Flashpoint. Glad you're with us tonight. So much great material tonight. I had to bring a few friends along just so long we could.
Can't wait.
To be able to talk about it. Pastor Hank, Lance Wallnow, and of course, Mario Murillo. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, so these three guys right here, they prophesied that Donald Trump was going to be the president in 2016 and in 2020, and they're leaders of the Trump religion.
To the show again tonight. It's Tuesday night, and what better place to be than on Flashpoint. Thank you, guys, for being here. All right, so it was last week during this program, while it was live, many of you were recording us and watching this.
Right, so this is a reference to that speech I told you about that Biden gave, where he basically said that the MAGA movement is anti-democracy and we need to stand against it as a country and not vote for these people. That's pretty much what the whole point of his speech was. They took it as persecution, of course. Some of the most influential people in the country, and they believe that they're persecuted.
That was funny, guys. Go ahead. That was funny. It was
not really
the State of the Union, or I heard the enemy of the state address that we heard last week. Joe Biden addressed the public proudly there with soldiers in the background and a dangerously dark red background. I'm not sure what they were.
Well, for what it's worth, it's brick, so naturally brick is going to have a red tone to it, although they did have red lights in the background, too. Donald Trump had Marines in the background in a bunch of his campaign ads and stuff, too. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. Maybe you shouldn't include Marines in this thing or that thing, but yeah, I mean, it's something that presidents have always done. It's really not that surprising to me. Yeah, bricks equals communist. Exactly. Thank you. I can't read your name, or I would give you credit for that. But yeah, thanks for the reference there.
Trying to convey, but this really wasn't what I thought we were going to see, Lance. Is that what you were thinking?
No, it was really, to me, it was entertaining. If you take a look at that picture, if they could bring it up again, it has the eagle behind him, like the Reichstag, which was when Hitler did his famous Triumph of the Will speech. They have the camera angle looking up at it. Look at that. See the way that they do it is it's like the eagle's wings behind him. And
I find it fascinating that these people are now crying that Biden made everything look like Hitler. He is Hitler, basically. When they scream about it, when people point out accurately that they are fascists, they are very much like the Third Reich. They are very much like how Nazis acted in the 1930s and 40s in Germany. They don't like the comparison, but when it's leveled at them, they level it right back at the other person. That's the whole strategy. If they're being accused of something, then they make the exact same accusation right back at the person that's accusing them. Do it preemptively if possible. Do it before you're accused of it in an ideal world in their minds. And that's why you hear the whole projection thing. The goal is to accuse the other side of doing what you do. The earlier in the process, the better, basically. And that's why they're accusing Biden of giving a speech that was similar to Hitler's. It's ridiculous. It wasn't.
It was literally what.
Hey, he has the same microphone as me. Interesting.
It was literally what a faux pas. I mean, if you wanted to be subtle about smearing your enemy as dangerous, you don't come out on Anton LaVey's set and deliver your sermon.
That's true.
Anton LaVey, if you're unfamiliar, is the founder of the Church of Satan. That's not Anton LaVey's set. That's just like a stage in Philadelphia.
True. All right, listen, I'm going to get things started with this short clip from Tucker Carlson. Watch.
Oh, God, Tucker.
We made fun of it at the top of the show because we didn't really know how else to respond, but Joe Biden really has crossed over into a very dangerous place. Tonight, he declared in a speech in Philadelphia that anyone who disagrees with him is a threat to the country.
No, that's not actually what happened. He didn't say anybody who disagrees with him is a threat to the country. Actually, you know what Biden said? There was a heckler that showed up that night. Somebody who's, yelling, "Fuck Joe Biden" or something. Do you want to see how he responded? If you remember, Donald Trump responded to a heckler by telling his supporters that he would pay for their legal fees, their lawyer and their bail and everything, if they beat the guy. If they hit the guy, he'd pay for their fees. That's fascism right there, by the way. That's how fascism works. Do you want to see how Joe Biden responded to somebody doing that?
People's habits of the heart and our character. Optimism that is tested yet endures. Courage that digs deep when we need it. Empathy that fuels democracy.
At the moment, he appears to be ignoring the heckler, right?
Willingness to see each other not as enemies but as fellow Americans. Look, our democracy isn't perfect. It always has been. Notwithstanding those folks you hear on the other side there.
Now he's responding to it.
They're entitled to be outrageous. This is a democracy. But history and common sense.
See, that's what it's all about. They are entitled to be outrageous. That's the point Joe Biden wanted to make. He doesn't label people as enemies of the state if they disagree with him. He says they're entitled to be outrageous. He doesn't threaten to have them beaten in the crowd by his supporters like Trump did. He says they're entitled to be outrageous. Stark difference. So I simply don't accept Tucker's characterization of what happened. Tucker is a Russian asset anyways.
Here's part of what Biden said.
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
That's true. That's a factual statement. And beyond that, I just released a video on my main channel about how people believe that Trump is the new Messiah, the Son of Man. I mean, full-blown religion now. If you haven't seen that, you should go watch it. But let's keep listening.
The Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Yeah, they're a threat, says the guy with the blood-red Nazi background and Marines standing behind him.
As if Donald Trump didn't stand with Marines behind him, first of all. And second, the speech that Biden gave was not a Nazi-like speech. It had nothing to do with, Nazi ideals or hatred or anything like that. These people are just obsessed with being persecuted. Simple as that.
It's a complete outrage that this is being sanctioned as a White House event. In other words, that this is the approved position of our government.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards. They promote authoritarian leaders and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country.
That's all factual. Every bit of that is factual information. There is nothing surprising or outlandish or crazy about any of that. So let's see how Kenneth Copeland's TV network reacts.
The very soul of this country. Oh, it just keeps giving us stuff to talk about. All right. But that's not all. That would be bad enough if it stopped there. But look at what happened.
What's bad about that? I don't understand. Why would that be bad enough? He was calling it exactly what it is, a terrorist movement. Domestic terrorists, extremists. That's what the MAGA movement is.
The next day.
Mr. President, do you consider all Trump supporters to be a threat to the country?
No, everyone, come on.
You can't make that case. I don't consider any Trump supporter to be a threat to the country. I do think anyone who calls for the use of violence fails to condemn violence when it's used, refuses to acknowledge when an election has been won, insists upon changing the way in which the rules you count votes. That is a threat to democracy.
Absolutely agreed. Is it weird to anybody else that Joe Biden is actually capable of carrying on a conversation and answering a question? Weird. I've been told this whole time that he had dementia, that he was incapable of answering anything, that he had to have handlers. What happened? I thought he was incapable of doing absolutely anything. Weird.
Democracy.
Almost like it was bullshit propaganda all along. Almost as though people made that shit up.
Okay, first off, this is not a democracy, this is a republic. But
it's a democratic republic, actually. Nice try. It's both. It's both a democracy and a republic. But, you know, the fact that these people are now denouncing democracy effectively, saying that democracy is not the system that they want, is deeply disturbing. The right has turned anti-democratic now. What happened to Western values, Western civilization, Enlightenment values? What happened to democracy? Seriously, what happened to people encouraging and wanting democracy? They are literally saying democracy is bad and we don't want it. He hasn't actually said those words literally yet, but they do say that literally.
putting that aside, Lance, it was a very different Joe Biden the next day versus what you saw there in the Hitlerish type background. Is it two different people? I mean, this was...
Are you kidding me? This is actually a QAnon conspiracy that it's two different people. I can't believe they're actually going down this path of claiming that it's like two different people or even speculating. Claiming and speculating are basically the same thing when you're dealing with a big platform like this. That's why I'm extremely careful about what I speculate about, because it gets people thinking and talking and wondering if it's true or not. If you have no reason to believe it, then you shouldn't believe it, period, in my opinion. Anyways, yeah, this is definitely a QAnon claim. Here's an actual full-blown QAnoner, Francine Fosdick, who buys all the QAnon stuff, held a conference called Patriots Arise where Doug Mastriano appeared a while back, and they gave him a Sword of David as a prize or whatever. Anyway, she's a full-blown QAnoner, extremely influential in the QAnon movement. This is Francine basically explaining or articulating the beliefs about Biden when it comes to the QAnon belief system.
Biden, yeah, he took the shot. So that's another way of saying, okay, he's eliminated as well, because that's not really Biden behind that mask. I mean, some people...
His eyes are black. What the other Biden had blue eyes. What happened?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Unless he's totally possessed, which could be, true.
No to all of that.
Taken over by demons and stuff.
So yeah, they believe that Biden was replaced with a clone or possessed by a demon, one of the two. The other person in that video and the person in this video is Kirsten Weldon. She died of COVID a while back after convincing as many people as she could to not get the COVID vaccine, sadly. Listen to what she has to say about Donald Trump here.
Okay, so 15th, 16th, and 17th from my military intel, he's going to be triangulated by 3 FBI agents. And on these 3 dates, 15th, 16th, and 17th, one of these days, they're going to try to take him out. This is what? The 5th.
Talking about Donald Trump, she believes that people are going to try to take out Donald Trump, like assassinate him or whatever.
The 5th attempt, and they have taken out 2 of his clones. So just FYI, yes, there's clones out there that are his. So he would not have survived without the clones. So FYI. And we can really tell the difference between the clones by the tie. Sometimes the yellow tie, the red tie, and the blue tie Trump. The blue tie Trump is a happy clone that's very good at golf. The yellow tie Trump is not, that smart. And the real Trump usually is the red tie Trump.
Yeah, so the point here is that this is a QAnon belief. The belief that political figures have been replaced with clones or imposters or body doubles or whatever else. It's a QAnon belief, and that's what these people are espousing right now. Now, remember, this is part of the Trump religion. These people are part of the Trump religion. It's not Christianity, it's the Trump religion. We have to come up with a name for them. They may come up with a name for themselves eventually, I don't know. They believe Trump is the Son of Man. This is a full-blown religion now. This isn't just like a weird little group of nutcases who blah, blah, blah. No, this is a full-blown religion. And these people are part of it now.
Bizarre.
No, well, he's suffering from meningitis or something, because then on Labor Day, he went and gave another speech.
Meningitis?
Which falls back into the pit of, and sometimes he calls them MAGA. It's kind of comical. Then it's manga.
Oh, MAGA. Okay, I see.
And magna. He gets a little, the ends are working in there. But understand something, Gene. I think all of us got to remember this. He knows that if the wave that is coming at him takes the midterm elections, his son's Hunter Biden laptop comes out.
Hunter Biden's laptop, I believe, is fake. I have seen no evidence that the Hunter Biden laptop is real. People have released pictures of his passport to prove that. They could have gotten that from a hack, from an account hack or something. They could have gotten it from hacking his Gmail account or whatever. There are a billion ways in which they could have received his passport. It doesn't have to have been from a laptop. And there's been an open offer, a standing offer from people, not from me, but others, for $250,000 or something to turn the laptop over to them. Just give me the laptop or show me the laptop or give me the file, the 450 gigabyte file that supposedly exists of his hard drive, and I'll give you $250,000. That's the whole bit. Somehow it never materializes. Never. I don't believe the laptop is real. It looks exactly like a Russian disinformation campaign. This is the exact Russian style. This is the kind of thing that they do on a regular basis. And considering the fact that it still has not materialized after all these years, even after having all this money on the table for it and everything, I just don't believe it. It's just bullshit as far as I'm concerned. It also doesn't show any connection to indict Joe Biden. It just shows Hunter being a total Chad and sleeping with people and doing a bunch of drugs and stuff. That's about it. Who cares? I did drugs too. I'm not involved in the administration. Why do you care if I did it? Hunter Biden's not involved in the administration. Why do you care if he did it? It doesn't matter. But they feel like this is a winning political issue for them. So they're going to continue talking about it anyways, despite the fact that it's irrelevant.
His own dealings with the Ukraine and China go public. His impeachment becomes inevitable. The exposure of the
Wait, Biden's impeachment is inevitable? Impeachment for what? What would he be impeached for? I don't understand. Why are we impeaching Biden? What did he do that's impeachment worthy?
FBI, in their duplicity, trying to suppress the story, exposes them. There is a panic in what we call the deep state. There's a panic in the Biden regime because Donald Trump's movement is about to expose the criminal activity of the Democratic Party.
How about you, Mark?
Great. Any day now, right? It's going to be exposed any time, any second, any 5 minutes now. This is like the claim that Armageddon is coming any 5 minutes now, right? We've been hearing that from apocalyptic Christianity for like 2,000 years. You know, the end will be here any 5 minutes now. We're waiting. I believed it was coming any 5 minutes now since I was a little kid, since I was a tiny little fella, and it's still not here. Any second. Just in the same way, I'm waiting for the Democratic Party to be exposed. Okay, great. All I need is evidence. Until I get some, I have absolutely no reason to believe a word out of your mouth because you have been full of shit this entire time.
Mario, do you agree with that? You think it's about to expose the
yeah,
party?
Yeah, it is. And what we're watching is what happened when Ahab...
By the way, all three of these people are Trump prophets. As I said earlier, this is a new religion. This is a new religion that centers around Donald Trump as a new Messiah, the Son of Man. To summarize, if you haven't seen the video of this already on my main channel, the Son of God and the Son of Man are considered to be the same prophet in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And Jesus even kind of identifies himself as the Son of Man in the New Testament. But Trump prophets, like these people here, believe that the Son of God and the Son of Man are different. Now, the Old Testament refers to the prophet, the Son of Man, as somebody who's going to come along and bring about, like, be a cosmic judge, bring about Armageddon and fight the war. Most Christians believe that that's the second coming of Jesus. He already fulfilled his role as the Son of God in the beginning and died for your sins, and he will be returning as the Son of Man to be an apocalyptic judge and bring about Armageddon. But these people, Mario Murillo, Hank Kunneman, and what's his name, Lance Wallnau, believe that Donald Trump is the Son of Man, the apocalyptic judge that brings about Armageddon in the end. Basically the second coming of Jesus, effectively, in a theological way. This is a new religion. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not twisting anything around. That's what this is. They believe he's a Messiah. And if you don't believe me, go watch the video on my main channel about it.
He said, "Is that you, O troubler of Israel? Never mind that Ahab had brought Baal worship, Jezebel, immorality, destroyed Israel's morals, and foisted a drought on the land, and then turned around and said, everything I'm doing, I'm going to blame you, Elijah, for." Not one example did Biden give of how MAGA people are a threat. He didn't cite...
Are you kidding me? He talked about how MAGA people are anti-democracy. Every time, yeah, he did cite an example. Every time a MAGA person loses an election, they claim that the Democrats cheated. Not just Democrats, but everybody cheated. Even other Republicans. I'll give you an example. Laura Loomer, not even that long ago, claimed that her Republican opponent cheated in the primary race.
We are losing our country because of big tech election interference. And I am pleading with the Republican Party to please start taking this issue seriously. Please. Because the American people deserve representation. And that's why I ran for Congress in 2020. It's why I ran for Congress in 2022. And it's why I'm going to keep fighting for all of you. I'm never going to.
What about Tina Peters? She's being charged with 7 felonies for leaking private voter data to Mike Lindell. And she claims in her election for Secretary of State that the Democrats cheated, that the cabal is after her. They just want to silence her.
This was a setup from the beginning. But when they saw that I had such a following and that I was going to win this, they front-loaded ballots. Now, if you read report number 3 and Jeffrey O'Donnell, the author of that report, you will see that this is exactly what they did this time. They had to take me out. And why would a judge appointed by our radical baby killing laws, Jared Polis, why would a judge appointed by him issue 2 arrest warrants, 2 in 1 week this past week? They want to take me out, and because they know that I know what's going on in the machine, Steve.
Steve Bannon claims that there's an attempt to silence him and all that stuff because he's being charged for his We Build the Wall scam. He scammed a bunch of people out of money, ripped them off millions of dollars, and he's the victim. I just cited a billion examples. Do we need more? That's just right off the top of my head. I could have given more if I sat down and thought about it for 5 more minutes.
One example, not one. It was rhetoric. It was just the voice of a desperate person who is barely holding on by a thread to his power and his influence. And I really believe that we're watching the unraveling right before the election. They realize they're about to lose power, and they've got to do everything they can to smoke screen, distract, bring up lies and rhetoric, but there's no substance. He didn't cite one viable example.
I just cited a bunch. Now, Joe Biden did cite some examples, but he wasn't there to cite examples. Biden was there to explain the problem. There are actually a billion examples of this.
Of how anyone that supports Trump hates the Constitution or is a threat to the country.
How about that guy who found out that Donald Trump was being searched at Mar-a-Lago and then went to an FBI field office with a nail gun to try to bust through bulletproof glass and an AR-15 to do something about it? How about him? How about the guy that was dressed in a clown mask recently who went to, a Burger King or something, I think, and said that we have to take out all Democrats? How about that guy? There are just an obscene number of examples of MAGA people getting extremely violent. January 6th. What about January 6th? Perfect example. We have so many examples of this. It's ridiculous. This is so obvious. How is he missing this? You know, Mario Murillo is fully aware that the MAGA movement is a threat to society. He wants that. He believes that that's a good thing. He believes that Trump is the Son of Man, the new Messiah, and the more dangerous to the establishment, quote unquote, Trump is, the better.
You have one of 2 choices when you look at Biden. And the best answer is that it's fraud that put him in there. Because the other one is that America is really stupid. And I don't really want to face the fact that America is stupid.
Every one of those signers understood that their life was going to be in the crosshairs of Britain for the rest of their life. That's why many of them died. Many of them had their children killed. They have an advantage over us because they knew why they had to do what we have to do. But I'm not sure yet that this audience understands that today we have to sign a supernatural Declaration of Independence.
Even if it comes down to political violence, that's a good thing in this guy's mind. No joke.
No, he can't do it. And what we're seeing here, Pastor Frank, I'll let you respond to this. What we're seeing here is I think he's pulling out, someone's feeding him these lines, these buzzwords, to try and do exactly what Mario is saying, trying to pump him up to get him some kind of edge to gain some traction.
Wait, is this the real Biden or no? Because a minute ago, they suggested maybe this is a clone or an imposter of some sort. Why would somebody need to feed him something if it's just a clone anyways, right? Is it the real Biden and he's just being controlled like a puppet? Or is it a clone? Which one? You know, they can't decide on which propaganda technique they want to run with.
Into the midterms for his administration. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's something different?
No, I definitely agree. Obviously, he is a puppet. We've known that from the beginning. But I also think that there's also a lot of demonic chatter that you can hear is obviously very obvious with the backdrop that he had there. It looked very demonic, looked like a freak show. But really what it was is more of the state of the mess and the state of division. It sounds...
Wait, they're playing off of the name of the speech, which is the State of the Union. The state of division, the state of the mess. Oh my God, he's terrible. I see nothing wrong with Biden's speech. The GOP platform in Texas calls for the removal of the Johnson Amendment. They are a threat to our rights. Absolutely. 100% agree. I didn't see anything wrong with his speech either. It was on point. The only people who are upset about it are people who are an actual threat to society. The people that he was talking about.
To me like he's trying to create division. That's really what he wants. He wants to bring this nation to a place of civil war. But
Biden? Why would Biden want to bring the nation to a point of civil war? No. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. This is a prime example of them realizing that they're being accused of something, being a danger to democracy, and then blaming the other person or claiming that the other group is the one that's causing this problem. The other group is extreme, not us. No, you. The point is, these people are desperate to... They just pick up on what the other side is saying, what Democrats are saying, and then they claim that the other side is doing it. Simple as that. These people are actually attempting to start a civil war. There's actual chatter of the possibility of a civil war starting as a direct result of these people's actions. Deeply disturbing stuff. Deeply disturbing.
Come on, man. Does he really understand what MAGA is? Everything that his administration is doing and what he is doing has been to destroy America.
In what way? What is he talking about? Everything that Biden does is intended to destroy America? How? What are you talking about? What do you mean? No, that is what this is all about, ultimately. This is all about propagandizing at any cost. Whatever the other side accuses you of doing, accuse them of doing it. That's what it's all about.
It hasn't been to make it great again. Let's be honest. And to Lance and Mario's point, these guys are scared that are controlling the puppet strings of this guy, Biden. And they know that there is a great fall coming. And their agenda is going to fall, and they're going to see it fall. And really what Biden's about, lastly, is he's about not MAGA, Make America Great Again. He's about MABA, M-A-B-A, Make America Biden Awful. And
what? I'm sorry. I don't think I understand. Make America Biden awful?
And God's going to step in. He's going to turn this around, and America's going to be great again.
Great. Hey, God's going to step in. Fantastic. Then you don't have to worry about a thing. Why are you out here talking about how Biden is evil and all this shit? If God's going to step in, you shouldn't even care, right? Like, he prophesied. I mean, this guy right here in front of us, all three of them, actually, they all claim to have heard God's voice tell them that Donald Trump is going to be the president of the United States for a second term, and they believe that he is the new Messiah, the Son of Man. Okay? Now, if that's true, if they really do believe this stuff, they shouldn't worry about what's going to happen with Biden or any of that stuff, right? Because God's going to make it all happen. Why are they all freaked out about it now?
Believing that with you, Pastor Hank. Lance, when we see this, this is nothing new. Every election cycle, look, this guy's really bad and we're really good. It's always some form of that. But this seems to cut at a whole deeper level than what we're used to seeing your normal pre-election rhetoric.
Well, it really does. Although I'm comforted by something. I listened to Ralph Reed the other day. He talked about the last time we had this big conservative wave that came in with Newt Gingrich. They actually were attacking evangelical Christians. Right. And so many of us were not really involved with politics. We have a short-term memory. But it's happened before. The Democrats, when they get really exposed, the fangs come out. And then you realize, oh, my gosh, this is the person I've been dating. I mean, think about it. They were threatening.
Yeah, what? What is he even talking about? This is the person I've been dating. What?
Supreme Court justices with assassination. They burned down.
They've been threatening the Supreme Court with assassination. Who? Who very specifically? I know there was some nutcase wandering around with a knife at one point or something like that. What he's doing right now is implying he took one very specific situation of one person with clear mental problems wandering around the Supreme Court house or something like that, the judge's house or something. And he's implying that high-level Democrats basically paid him to show up there and threaten people. He's implying that, like, Nancy Pelosi is paying people to, like, attack the Supreme Court justices or whatever. It's nonsense. Top to bottom, nonsense.
200 cities, put 500 cops in the hospital, did $2 billion worth of damage. They're attacking pregnancy crisis centers. List after list of the intimidation and the chaos. And I'll tell you what I really think it is.
Yeah, he really wants the left to be responsible for all of society's ills. When it's complete nonsense. You know how they constantly, they as in Lance Wallnau and the three people on this panel. I don't want to use weasel words here. I'm talking about these specific people. You know how these specific people that are talking on this show make all kinds of claims about how New York City is a train wreck and it's full of crime and you can't even live there anymore and oh my God, I live here. No, it isn't. New York City is perfectly fine. I've lived here for 2 years. I've never been mugged. I've never been attacked. I've never worried about my safety or any of that. It is a perfectly fine and safe city to live in. Same with Portland, Oregon. It's a perfectly fine, safe city to live in. Yeah, there were protests. It didn't go beyond that. There were protests in every city. There's nothing surprising about protests. But they want to demonize protests, make it out like, they're burning the cities down and all that stuff, whether it's true or not, which it isn't. Because they want to make liberals or people to the left of shooting the homeless for sport, they want to make them out to be completely unreasonable nutcases.
Dr. Malone nailed it when he talked.
Wait, isn't Dr. Malone that one guy who made all kinds of ridiculous, unhinged bullshit claims about the vaccine?
About this mass psychosis, there's some kind of a what is it, mass formation psychosis. He was quoting Matthias Desmond, a professor, who says that there is a certain kind of deception that gets onto people. And I'm really serious about this, folks. This is evidence of a demonized mindset among people who have been believing the wrong stuff. They're projecting on us everything that they do, which is the...
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. Accuse the Democrats of everything that they are being accused of, whether they're doing it or not. And even down to that, even down to the claim that they are, accusing them of what they do or whatever. Just repeat it verbatim. It's working for the Democrats. We know that the people who watch this show are going to believe literally any word out of our mouths, so just say it whether it's true or not.
The reason why we can't just be quiet, because when you have mass formation psychoses, the only way you break it off the country...
I think when he says mass formation psychoses, I think actually what he's talking about is, what's his name? Jordan Peterson. He talked about some of this stuff a while back. Jordan Peterson talked about this mass psychosis thing that happens with like a confused blah, blah, blah. It was complete nonsense. He talked about the literature going back 300 years. Well, I guess technically there was literature from 300 years ago that talked about this. Pretty much no literature ever since because it was a debunked idea. In the next part, we actually go through Jordan Peterson's specific claims. I know they reference Dr. Malone, whoever that is, but Peterson is probably the most famous for talking about what he's referencing here. Believe it or not, Jordan Peterson gets it completely wrong. Stick around for part 2.